Welcome to The Last Track, where we help people showcase the last track of their life story in their final wishes. I am your host, Brian Norris, the co-owner of Bateman Funeral Home in Newport, Oregon. Just like a song can bring you back to a day, a time, and a memory, so too can a well-planned service.
Be talking about Veterans Day and, of course, veterans benefits. That can be that the veterans earned while they were serving in the service. Veterans and veterans benefits. So to begin with, a lot of times I have the question, especially it seems to come from a spouse who was not a veteran, and they heard from their spouse, I am a veteran, and so therefore all of my burial benefits are covered. That's not true, and I'm sorry to say that. What is true, and I like to say it this way, is everything that if you're going to be going to a national cemetery, and here in Oregon we have a few of them, one of them the closest being Willamette National, everything from the gates of the National Cemetery in are paid for by your veteran and by the service that the veteran provided. But everything to the gate is not covered. And so if someone passes away, picking them up and doing a cremation or getting them prepared for burial, that is not covered. And in fact, I just had a conversation today with a veteran not the veteran, but with the spouse, thinking that everything's covered because that is what the veteran had said. Well, you need to hear this and hear this really clear. Everything from the gates in is paid for, which means the plot or the niche and the marker and the outer burial container, that is all covered. Getting them there is not. But the first thing that you need to know about is something called a discharge paperwork, or the DD-214. And what it contains is it has the name of the veteran. It tells what branch of service that they served in, and it tells Social Security, the rank, the awards. In fact, actually, in this particular sample here, tells all of the awards that person had earned. For example, this particular gentleman has the Defense Meritorious Medal from the Army. It has the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, the Gulf Campaign Medal, the Global War on Terrorism, all those things. So if the veteran has lost those awards, you can actually apply and get new ones for replacements for them. And you can have those, and you can hand those out to the children, maybe of the veteran that has passed away. But again, the DD-214 is what allows us to be able to establish eligibility for the veteran to receive the funeral expenses or the burial expenses. If a person served in any capacity in any armed forces, for example, if they served in the National Guard and that's all they served, or the reserves or the selected reserves, and they didn't do any active duty, they won't be able to go to the National Cemetery, but they are eligible for other benefits. We'll make sure we cover all of those. But a lot of times people don't know, but if their loved one served as a commissioned officer in the public health services, they are eligible for veterans benefits. Or if you served in NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. NOAA, I had a friend who actually served during Vietnam in NOAA, and he has veterans benefits, and that's something to know about. A couple more things I want to cover before I get into what are the benefits is if a spouse, so if you're legally married and you want to be buried, and your spouse is eligible to go to a national cemetery, your spouse and the veteran can be buried at the national cemetery. That is a benefit for serving in the military. If you have a dependent child under the age of 21, or if they're still going to college, the age of 23, they can be buried in a national cemetery. In fact, if the veteran himself is still alive and a dependent child or spouse passes away, they can be buried there without the veteran actually being there, as well as maybe the veteran's going to go get buried somebody else, but the dependent children under the age of 21 and 23 going to college and a spouse can be buried in the national cemetery, as well as any child that's in the family that might have a disability. If they have a disability for life, they can be buried in the national cemetery with the veteran and the spouse. So I covered all of that. I wanted to make sure that everybody knows a little bit about who is eligible. Now, what are you eligible for? If you served on active duty, for example, this particular gentleman here who served in Afghanistan, you are eligible for one, and this is what everyone is eligible for, any veteran serving in the National Guard, Reserve, active duty, any veteran who has served in the military and has an honorable discharge or even less than honorable discharge, but not a dishonorable discharge, you can receive the flag will be folded. So at the service or even at a party, if you went to a party and you're having a celebration of life and you're going to have, you want to have the military come, they will come and they will play taps and they will fold the flag and they will present it to the family. And that can also happen at a national cemetery as well. If you happen to go to Willamette National and they happen to have some people there on staff at the day that you're having the service, not only will you have the flag folded and taps played, but if they have a rifle squad there, they will also actually fire 3 volleys, 3 rifles. It's not a 21 gun salute, folks. I keep hearing everybody saying they get a 21 gun salute. That's actually not true. Now, if you were a general in the military, then there's some other rules for that. Then you may have a 21 gun salute. But veterans will be given, they'll have 3 rifles, 3 volleys, and they'll play taps and they'll fold the flag. The other benefits, if you served on active duty and you weren't just and I don't want to say just a National Guardsman or just a reservist, because, oh my goodness, look at how those men and women are serving us today and literally being called up, taken completely away from their homes, and they are serving on the front lines today. So I am not discounting reservists or guardsmen. But if you didn't serve on active duty when you were a guardsman or a reservist, if you actually did serve, then you're also eligible for a niche if you're being cremated with a marker to go on that niche. And you can also have your spouse will have one of those as well that will go on the niche. Or if you would like to be buried in the ground, you have the plot and you have a liner that goes around the casket as well as a marker. And those are the benefits, burial benefits for veterans. I believe we've covered just about everything that we need to cover, and pass it along and share it. Again, my name is Brian. Thank you for visiting with us